Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Amber Day. I'm an ed tech trainer for Mesa Public Schools. I'm happy to be here to share in the celebration of our Avid Showcase, our first virtual Avid Showcase with Guerrero Elementary. Thank you for all of our attendees today. If you would like to type into the chat, share with us your thoughts, your comments, your questions, you can do that by using the drop-down and clicking all attendees and then typing in your questions. We will have a panelist discussion coming up after we hear from our Avid leadership team. Thank you again for being with us, and I will hand it over to our wonderful principal, Brian Minarsik.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being part of our Avid Showcase. I hope you had the opportunity to check out the videos in advance and give a little virtual tour that way. We really felt that we wanted to start with some slides of our campus and our the whole feel of Guerrero. It's hard really to understand Guerrero until you walk our campuses, see the culture, and experience the culture. So we wanted to give you the best taste of that as we could without students in our building. We're going to start today by just each of us introducing a little bit more about our Avid story. As you saw the videos, one of the things we were most concerned about was the videos that we shared with you of strategies. I wouldn't say concerned, but like, wait, that's not all of who we are. The videos that we shared with you were created for people new to Avid so they could start strategies in their first week. We want to share the expanse of Avid with you by starting the first 20 minutes or so with each of us telling a little bit more about the Guerrero story, our story. Because at Guerrero, we truly believe that we is greater than me. I am only as good as the teacher who asks the questions to help us grow or the paraprofessional who brings an idea. That we is greater than me is pretty much the cultural identity of Guerrero, so much so that we wear it on the backs of our T-shirts and our staff shirts. But as we rolled out, I want to go back a little because I shared the story on how parents and teachers really launched Avid in our school instead of it being principal-driven. And let me explain a little bit about that for you before I go into this slide. We had just come out of 5 years of being a TAP school. We were the pilot TAP program in Guerrero, at Guerrero for Mesa, and then 5 other schools joined us. So we have 6 years of an identity that was TAP, the TAP performance program. And if you're not familiar with TAP, that brings in a master teacher, 3 to 4 mentor teachers, and we have a weekly cluster in which the mentor and master teachers really dive in professional development at such a detailed weekly level. The reason why when TAP rolled out in our district, I wasn't against, when Avid rolled into our district, I was never really against Avid. It's just we were ending the identity of TAP, and I wasn't sure what our next identity was. We were reculturing our school at that time because as TAP left, many of all but one of our mentors and master teachers went out and entered district leadership, and 3 are actually principals right now. And there's another principal on here who was part of our TAP who's at another district. Michelle Hawes had to give you a call out. With that, as we did that, as we went from TAP to Avid, I loved Avid because as a middle school principal before I came to Guerrero, we were Avid elective, and when we came into at Guerrero, we really pushed our parents to really go into the Avid elective in junior high. We knew the benefits of that. But as Avid Elementary, I just wanted to be very cautious on what I brought in to our school to be our next identity because I wanted to make sure we could do it with fidelity and success. So with that being said, a parent really started this conversation as we had a district tiered rollout. We were not in year 1, but she really kept pushing that we move it to that. Well, let me tell you this. My teachers got so excited about it that we jumped on into the Summer Institute. They were gung-ho. I was gung-ho with them externally, but I was apprehensive inside because we really hadn't renormed our culture from TAP and all the leaders that left our school. However, as we attended Summer Institute, something organic and magical happened. Our teachers really took ownership, and they came back from every session like, we need to do this, and we need to do this now. This is good for our students, and this is a great way to introduce all the new teachers into our school on what effective quality instruction and what good instructional strategies look like. So it was funny, as we're doing it, one of our MESA former principals of Avid was our coach that way, and she kept saying, go slow to go fast. And literally she would take 2 steps away from the table, and the Avid team would say, we can't go slow. Our teachers need this right now. And so it was actually a step back for me as I was apprehensive, just so I wanted the identity to be organic and really want them buy-in, that I said, if we're going to do this, let me facilitate you bringing it to the staff. And at that time, me, my dean, and our Title I really shifted our goal from instructional leaders to instructional coaches and facilitators of growth of our teacher leaders. And actually, that's what really shifted. When Avid came in, after our first year, 9 months into Avid, our state director asked if they could bring an entire school through to see what Avid looks like at the end of year 1, because this is what it should look like at the end of year 1. And I have to tell you, that was a validating thing to me, that what our teachers are diving into is exactly what our students need, exactly what our culture needs. And then I was 100% sold and in. And that, once again, I wasn't against the strategies, but I really guard. The culture of Guerrero is what makes us special, and I really wanted to guard our culture. And from that, we went from a program in TAP that was a master teacher, a mentor teacher, and levels of teaching and levels of people in leadership to truly being a we, that no one is better than anyone, and that we have to depend on each other and grow together. And so I just had to celebrate that and let you know the journey, because that's so foundational to who we are in Avid Elementary, and it's a testimony to the people you are going to meet in a few minutes who make this what it is today. I tell people all the time, I have the best job in the world because I hired some really amazing people who challenge me, and I get to step aside and watch them grow and lead and really facilitate their growth rather than really taking the leadership. And we really work together and we grow together. The visual you see up top, I just want to just share briefly on this as well. After we finished year 1, our district got a new superintendent, and they said, we are now PLC full launch. So at that summer institute, what we decided was, yes, we are PLC full launch, but we have to make sure that Avid stays the center of everything we do. We believe in this so strong that as we relaunch PLC, we have to make sure we bring it to our staff so they know Avid still stays the center and is the core of our instructional, because we saw the instructional benefits in year 1. We want to continue to see them moving forward. With that, this is the visual we created. And that we, if you go back to the video, the PBIS and SEL, if we are not thinking about positive behavior interventions, if we are not thinking about social and emotional learning as our core, we're not meeting the needs of our students. And really, when I think about PBIS and SEL, growth mindset plays in there, because when you deal with someone with behavior or in any situation with a growth mindset to see them grow, it changes the way the consequences or the discussions happen. So that's our overriding with the growth mindset. Then we had to put in the fact that PLC, the guiding questions of 1 and 2 guide us before learning. Questions 3 and 4 after learning. But Avid is everything that we do, from questions to the data that lead us to our success. And so I just want to make sure I shared that with you. That's my little part of the story and chapter. I hand it over to Ms. Ritter, our Dean of Students, as she takes it over. Ms. Ritter.
Hello, everybody. I am Kara Ritter. I am the Dean of Students at Guerrero. This is actually my very first year at Guerrero and also my very first year at an Avid school. So I came into Guerrero not knowing what I was getting myself into in terms of Avid, and I began the teacher trainings just like the teachers do when they came in. And I really got to have the full Avid experience from the very beginning of the school year and having a really good understanding of what Avid is and how I could help support Avid on our campus. As Brian shared, he is all about us being coaches for the teachers and being there to support the teachers. And I really felt that I received that training in order to help those teachers grow. And when I walked into Guerrero those first couple of weeks of school, One major thing that I noticed, and Brian kind of shared a little bit about that, was the culture. I believe the culture that Guerrero has created is truly unlike any of the cultures that I have felt within other schools, and it's a really, really special place. The way that the teachers talk to the students, the high expectations that are set, the expectations that the students have for themselves. A couple of the cool things that I've seen happen that I haven't seen other places is the chant. I'm not sure if you watched the videos that were sent out earlier, but you got to hear a chant in one of the classrooms. And Brian does this with the entire school. Every single child in the entire school knows the school chant, and it's just a really, really special piece of it and really sets the tone for the way that the adults interact with the students and the way that the students interact with the adults. I love being a part of empowering the teachers, and the teachers really take on piloting the different Avid strategies and sharing those strategies out to the other staff members. That way it's not always coming from us as the administrators, it's also coming from each other, and the teachers really take that on and really want to be there to support one another and show them how it went in their own classrooms. I love the visual that Brian also showed, that Avid is really the center of everything that we do, but I really want to make it clear that Avid is really not another thing that's added onto our plates. It really just gives the structures, the high engagement, the high expectations, and those best practices. It gives it a name and gives it a strategy, and it really does help with student college and career readiness. One more thing that I really want to share that I think is so special about Guerrero and Avid is the fact that Guerrero takes students, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders get to go to a different college. They go to, I don't want to name them all, I might forget them on the spot right now, but they go to NAU, they go to one of the ASU campuses, and they get to go and they get to see what college is, and they really begin to understand that college is not just a word, it's an actual place, and that it can actually become a reality for our students. So U of A, ASU, NAU, and there are some of our students there. If you want to scroll through those next ones, Amber, there's some more of our students. Those are actually our 6th graders this school year. Those were them last year in 5th grade. And there's one more picture of our students visiting the college campuses. The students really enjoy that, and it really truly makes college a place for them and not just a name. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Holly, who is our Title I specialist.
Hello, everyone. My name is Holly Jefferson, and I'm the Title I School Improvement Specialist at Guerrero. And I think many times people will ask, now, how do you continue the growth with everyone with Avid? Or how about when you have new teachers who come on board? You know what, how are they, immersed in the Avid experience and all being able to get ready to implement Avid as well in their classrooms? And well, all of our professional learning experiences on campus, we model the way. Each one of those experiences where we're learning new content, we are using Avid strategies to learn that new content. So not only are the teachers being able to learn the strategy that they can take back to their classroom, they're also being a part of that, learning that new content. An example of that is one of our district initiatives for the past few years has been grading practices. So like in this picture that you see right now, one of the things that we've all been looking at using the jigsaw method as a reading strategy to share with one another. We've also used different collaborative strategies such as the Team Huddle, the World Cafe, Carousel, all of those to experience that strategy so that it can be taken back to your classroom. Also, we'd have, after each one of our professional learning experiences, we would share that strategy from the Avid book so that teachers could go back and refer to that. They had the experience during our professional learning, but then they would be able to go back and then figure out how they can utilize that in their classrooms. Now, also with our our professional learning. We started them with the Avid Agenda, our notes, putting in the essential question on there. And that would be, the expectation that would also be for our students as well in the classroom. Now, that organizational strategy over the past few years, we realized, it wasn't meeting the needs of all of our students and all of our teachers, so that we had actually partnered at the beginning of the year, this year, with Thinking Maps. And knowing that that would be another organizational strategy that could help out our teachers and our students. So we started this year with a training for all of our teachers and then began an 8-week rollout. We did one map per week for each one of our classrooms, and it was every student, every teacher on board with that. And then after those 8 weeks, teachers were deciding whether or not, this lesson would be great to use a thinking map, or this one I'm going to use my 2-column notes for, so that they had more options for their organization in their classroom. We also saw the need to be able to share this learning with our instructional assistants who would be in the classrooms as well. So at the beginning of the year, when we were doing our training and reviewing all those expectations for students, for staff, in different areas of the building, we knew that, this would be a great time for them to use Thinking Maps to be able to share their thinking and see that value that the students were taking out of it. We also, at about halfway through the year, surveyed our teachers and said, what are you needing more help with? And so that's when we were able to, send out more examples of like the bridge map or the multi-flow map, also ways to use them together. So we were continuing their professional learning throughout the year by focusing on different maps and also sharing them in common areas of the school. Right before the closure, we had set up the goal that one of the things that we needed to add to our thinking maps, our academic organizational strategy that we were using, is adding in there the essential questions and then also adding those summaries on there to really extend that thinking for all of our students. So one of the things that I really have seen with Avid is that it helped us set high expectations for our students and their learning, but it has also had us help us set high expectations for all of our staff with all of their professional learning as well. So thank you very much. And I would also like to pass it on at this time to Patrice Jamison. She is our 5th grade math and writing teacher. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Patrice Jamison. I just want to talk about how Avid has given me the ability to transfer that academic language to my students, specifically using scholarly language. It's really impacted my classroom. I start the year with giving all of my students this, I would say, I call it a discussion map, or they call it the pink sheet or blue sheet, whatever color it's on, but they learn to use this. It takes some time to get them to using it, but it definitely helps with that scholarly language, teaching them how to agree, teaching them how to disagree, teaching them how to connect their ideas to others' ideas, even asking for clarification. I don't know how many times I've gotten the, well, I don't get it, or I don't know. It teaches them a scholarly way to ask that they need help. And then these discussion nets also help with building the foundation for those higher level added strategies like philosophical chairs and Socratic seminar. We would do a lot of those during our writing time, like the penny debate. I had my students do a debate on whether they, before we knew the corona shutdown was going to take everything, like shut down schools, my students did a discussion on whether they thought online education was more beneficial or the traditional classroom version of education was more beneficial. So just having this made that debate and that discussion in our classroom even more efficient and effective because they knew how to talk to each other. Like I said, it takes a couple of times for it to flawlessly work, but once you get to that point, it's so amazing. And then also using thinking maps in math. I started out like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to do this. This is going to be hard. But once I told myself, you know what, you just need to jump in and just do it. And my kids grabbed a hold of it. They were like, hey, can we use this thinking map? Can we use that one? Can we use this one? I'm like, yeah, why not? So this right here is just circle maps and math, whole numbers attractions, using the bridge map. The bridge map, I was very apprehensive about trying that one because I wanted to make sure that it was done well and that my students would understand it. So I reached out, got some help on it, got some ideas, and now I literally use the bridge map all the time. It works excellent. I use it for area, perimeter, formulas, things like that. And then I also have these large whiteboards in my classroom as well that I have students work in groups on to solve problems and things like that. So definitely writing in math. And then after they do these group thinking maps, they go back to their journals and then they are re-answering their essential question that they had at the beginning of the lesson. So they're using their own thinking, their group thinking, and it's just so cool to see how their learning grows from the beginning of a lesson or a unit to the end of a lesson or a unit, and just to see the light on their face, like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know this before. And I'm like, yeah, now you do. But it's just so cool to be able to use the discussion maps and also thinking maps in math, so they can see that cross-curricular like connection that, oh, we do these things in math as well as reading and social studies and science and writing. All of these things are so connected, and all of the strategies can be used in any subject area. And now I will pass it off to Amy Nielsen.
Hi everybody, my name is Amy Nielsen and I teach third grade. I've been at Guerrero for 8 years now. And when Guerrero first decided to become an Avid school and we started attending professional development, everything was really overwhelming. We were handed a lot of information at once and everything that we were given was amazing, and I really couldn't wait to start trying things in my classroom. I just really didn't know where to begin, what to start with, what do I want to do first, because there's just so much. However, once I learned about Wickerizing my lessons in a training that I attended, everything really just clicked for me. Wicker is an acronym that stands for writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading. As a staff, all of the teachers really do their best to include each of these components throughout the day in multiple lessons, multiple times in a lesson, regardless of what the subject is that we're teaching. Thinking back to a math lesson this year that I taught my third graders on comparing fractions, students were writing to explain their thinking. They were engaged in inquiry, collaboration, and reading during a bend the line strategy where they traded their work with a partner to engage in conversation and analyze each other's thinking. I've seen such a change in engagement in my students and also confidence in my teaching now that I have all of these tools in my toolbox. And as we continue our journey with Avid as a school, I'm really excited that I get to keep learning new strategies to implement in my classroom and learn alongside my students as we build the procedures and the confidence with all the things that we're doing in our classroom. Another key component with Avid is growth mindset. So I'm going to pass it off to my teammate, Jen Jobs, and she's going to tell you a little bit about that.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Jobs, and I also teach third grade at Guerrero. This is the end of my 7th year at our school. The start of my Avid experience is really rooted in growth mindset. Growth mindset is integrated into everything that we do and every Avid strategy that we teach. When Guerrero first started on our Avid journey, it was a little overwhelming at the start, but when we really broke it down, as a team and as a school, we found that the easiest starting point and key foundation was the idea of explicitly teaching our students what it means to have a growth mindset. Our growth mindset impacts our day-to-day lives, both in and out of school. So at the start of the school year, one of the ways that our team rolls out growth mindset is we've done a lot of research online paired with all of our Avid strategies, and we actually have a several-week process of rolling out the idea of growth mindset. We start by teaching key vocabulary, sorting examples of growth and fixed mindsets, as well as reading numerous books. As we move through our journey of teaching growth mindset, we explicitly teach them what we call how the brain works, which is a story through pictures, teaching the students how we can build strong neurons and positive pathways to keep that growth mindset. From there, we move on to creating T-charts and anchor charts and phrases that we can reference throughout our year. And at the conclusion of our explicit instruction, we have our students work to make SMART goals of something that they feel that they currently have a fixed mindset and a plan of action on how to change it into a growth mindset. So all of these goals that we create are then coordinated into a giant colorful brain poster that we hang up in our room, and it stays up all year long to remind us each day of our continuous work to have a growth mindset. All of this instruction is embedded with our Avid strategies, carousels, and one-page wonders. As I walk around my classroom, I often hear my students having conversations through collaboration where they're reminding each other using our anchor charts and resources around the room to have that growth mindset and to change the words that they're saying if they're expressing a fixed mindset into a more growth mindset language. So this language carries out all into our collaboration work and our Avid strategies. I can even recall a time when we were creating our successful students that we keep on the front of our Avid binders, and as we discussed things that would make a successful student, they would give examples such as being on time, being prepared, and one of my students actually raised their hand and said, we can't forget growth mindset, it's one of the most important parts. And it was just really impactful to hear my students and how they value having that growth mindset as a key component to their success. It's just so powerful to watch the transformation in student confidence as they begin to realize that power of yet and that growth mindset. So I'm going to pass it along to my colleague, Chelsea Cloonan. She's going to talk more about growth mindset and what Avid looks like in the kindergarten classroom.
Hi, I am Chelsea Cloonan, and like Jen said, I teach kindergarten ELD here at Guerrero. And so I came from a different district to Guerrero, and so I was new to both kindergarten and Avid. And I must admit, at first I was a little overwhelmed about how to make this work for such young children. But once I kind of took a step back and looked at Avid through a different lens, I saw it as a collection of best practices. And they weren't reinventing the wheel. They were gathering all these wonderful strategies together and creating a systematic approach for the child's entire education. And so at kindergarten, we were at that very first step of the ladder, and my job was to make sure they had a super strong foundation so that they could build upon it every single year. And we start with very high expectations in kindergarten. You'll see our focused notes. This we use the very first week of kindergarten. I'm teaching kids colors, and they are recording focused notes. And so even though some of my students aren't yet able to form all of their letters, these are dotted lines so they're able to trace and write. And then we rely really heavily on pictures in kindergarten. So maybe they are not able to create or to communicate through writing yet, but they are definitely able to communicate using pictures. Something else that we do, if you want to switch to the next slide, thank you, is we start organization expectations in kindergarten. So I expect them to have an Avid binder, and this is the cover of our Avid binder. It says, I can take care of my things and I am organized. And so we really set the foundation so that by the time they're in 12th grade, their binder is immaculate and perfect, because in kindergarten, they're expected to keep track of their notes. And the binders aren't always perfect, and we definitely lose some things or have stuff spilt all over our binders. You know, that's kindergarten life for you. They get a little sticky, but we start by building those foundations. And just like every great habit, the more you do it, the more it just becomes second nature, and it'll be easier for you in the future. Something else we do in kindergarten is we obviously introduce wicker. And so I
use Wicker to plan my lessons and to inform my teaching, but I make it accessible and appropriate for the 4, 5, and 6-year-olds in my classroom. And so this is a snapshot of Wicker that's on my board, and so we'll use a Wicker tracker throughout the day. Once I kind of explain what Wicker is to the kids, they're able to start pointing it out in our lessons. And so eventually throughout the year we'll be engaged in the activity, and my students will take the initiative and say, oh, Ms. Cloonan, we're collaborating right now. We're doing partner talking, and that's collaboration. And so it's really exciting to see our youngest learners be able to know what Wicker is and identify which elements of it we are engaged in. And finally, like Jen had said, we do growth mindset in kindergarten as well. I have a graphic of a brain that's weightlifting on our board, and so the kids learn your brain, it takes hard work, but it can get smarter and smarter the more effort that you put in. So the kids, when we're engaged in something difficult, they'll say, my brain is getting stronger, it's getting stronger. And it's so exciting to see the kids realize that your mental capacity is not fixed. It's just based on your effort. And so the kids also set academic goals. I guide them through it for the first semester, and eventually they take the reins and they are able to set their own academic goals as well with some scaffolding. So with that, I am going to pass it on to Shayna Murray. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Shayna Murray. I teach 2nd grade at Guerrero. This is the end of my 7th year as well, like Jen. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about inquiry and the CASA's leveled question. I was not necessarily willing to jump right into this one initially. When I first heard about Avid and sat in the trainings, I loved the collaboration and I loved a lot of the structure that came with it, but I was a little bit nervous as far as CASA's. If you were going to ask me from my first training what it was about, I'd just be like, yeah, there was leveled questions, and that's about all I could tell you. And so I kind of shied away from it. But it turned out to be one of the most rewarding parts of Wicker to teach. I just sort of decided to jump in one day after sitting in an Avid meeting, and we were discussing what areas we were going to go to next, and Brian was throwing out all these ideas, and inquiry and CASA's was one of them, and I'm sitting there going, oh gosh, please no. And that's what we picked. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to just jump right in and do this. And thanks to Jen and Amy, who did a training on leveled questions in 3rd grade, I thought to myself, I can totally do this. I can do this with 2nd graders. So we started with leveled 1 questions. If you can see the poster there. Yep, that's one of the ones we made with the school. And I started with level 1. And I modeled, and then we moved to level 2, and there was a point in time where we were discussing it as a class one day, and one little boy said, hey, I have one, and he threw out this question, and it was definitely a level 3, and I went, oh boy, are we gonna do this now, or are we gonna just step aside? And I said, you know what, let's just go for it. We're here, let's see how they do. And I said, no, that's a level 3. Let's talk about why, and we discussed it, and from then on, they were hooked, and I actually think they enjoyed level questioning more than a lot of the different areas, which I was shocked by. So we used this stoplight poster. I actually used this for myself to help with some of the keywords getting to know it. And then the next slide, there is a picture that, okay, so I lost my original. I gotta just go ahead and say this. I don't know what those brains are supposed to look like. I found the original sense, however, but this is how I showed some of the, for younger level to just say what a level 1, a level 2, and a level 3 is. I'm actually moving to 6th grade next year, and I totally plan on using this poster in with my 6th graders because it was a really good, quick snapshot of what each level meant. So that's pretty much the short story on CASA's. I don't be afraid to jump into something. It is one of the more in-depth parts of Wicker, but it turned out to be so beneficial and so fun to teach. And now I'm going to hand it over to Samuel, who is our special ed teacher, and he'll tell you more about how we use Wicker instead.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samuel Villalba, and I'm the kindergarten through second grade special education teacher at Guerrero. I absolutely love working at Guerrero. Before that, I was an instructional coach for the district, traveled from school to school, and just like Brian was talking about, the feeling that you get at Guerrero is one that you take away and that you desire. So I decided to go back into the classroom and teach the kinder through second. It was my first year with the little ones, so it was a little crazy, but we did really well. And I kind of questioned if I wanted to use Avid and how I would do that. But one of the ways I found most successful was creating binders and basing it off of their goals. So as you can see, we talk about like at the beginning what a successful student is. So they have more of a background on what it takes to accomplish these goals. And this goal sheet that we have spread up here on the right, I broke it down by each of the quarters that we had to assess the students, so that we're required to assess 4 times a year. But I have it also before breaks and after breaks, so I could look at extended school year data. So this page here kind of was just a quick snapshot of that goal and how they were progressing on it. One of the biggest things that helped the students the most kind of understand this was they would shade in to wherever they got, like this goal was the student will orally read uppercase and lowercase letters of the alphabet independently on 8 out of 9 trials. So let's say they started off at 2, so they would just shade it into 2. And then we would talk about, so if your goal is 8 out of 10, how can we move forward? That was a big question for kindergartners. So we just broke it down and said, well, where do you want to go next? We have 2. Let's look at these next numbers. Which one would you want to go to? And I would pick like 3, 4, 5. And just kind of knowing where they were at and where they could go. So giving them more of the options to set that goal. Another way that I incorporated Avid into the classroom was with inquiry-based questions. And that, I was like, how am I going to do that? I don't want to ask too much of a higher level question to like make them feel confused. But I do want them to start thinking at a higher level. So on the left side is their point card. And after every session that they have or every group, they're given the opportunity to say how many points they can get. They can either get 3, 2, or 1. The beginning of the year, the teachers were letting the students know how many points they were getting and giving an explanation behind it. So student A, I'm giving you 3 points because you did everything on your own. You didn't need any teacher help. Student 3, I'm going to give you 2 points just because Mr. V did have to help you get on task or find your pencil. And so really kind of setting the expectations as we're going through as well. And then now they were at the point before in March where they would tell me how many points they were going to receive. So they're really using that metacognition to think about what their behaviors were and how that helped them be successful. And I would just help enunciate that out for them. And so, yeah, that's how I've been successful in my classroom. Thank you.
I want to offer a huge virtual round of applause to our Avid leadership team and everything that they had to share with us today. At this point, we are going to open up the chat for discussion, and while you are typing out your questions, our principal would like to share a story with you. If you don't know how to type into the chat, I want to share that instruction with you really quickly. At the bottom of your screen, you will see the chat box, and you'll also see a drop-down. Be sure that you select all participants so everybody in the chat can see what questions you have, and we'll work on discussing that. Also, in the upper right-hand corner where you see our images pop up, you will see to the top right some arrows that are going diagonally. If you'd like a Brady Bunch view of our panel discussion where we answer your questions, you can click on that, and that will give you a little bit of a different view. So go ahead and type all of your questions into the chat, and I'm going to hand it over to our principal to share a story with us.
All right, I'm back on live. First of all, I'm going to be completely transparent with you. Like about 4 of our teachers in, I just started tearing up because they're just an amazing group of people. And it was just a moment. So I'm hoping I can stay strong as I finish this. But just some things just to clarify, just to add to 2 things and then the story. When we think about thinking maps, we launched thinking maps with layered notes from day one. We're always trying to get them to go back and layer the notes. And then we're moving into the essential question and summarizing when appropriate. But layered notes is such a key component in that organizational and that Avid mindset. And so we want to make sure I share that. And then Shana showed this great chart, and I think nerves, I just want to clarify, in her map, thank you for going to the chart. A level 1, you just go in the book and it's right there. When her and her kids came up with this, it just made so much sense. Level 2, you need the book and your brain to answer this question. You put your book in prior knowledge, or you can find the knowledge somewhere, you can answer that question. And then level 3, you need the book, you need your brain to create something new. The answer is not going to be out there. You're going to have to take what you've read and what you know or can research and create something completely new with that. And so she shared that with me many times. I want to make sure I got that out to all of you. And then as Jen was sharing the growth mindset story, I have to tell you, and one day I have to talk to Miss Aguiluz and get the name of the first grade student who did this, because we had the chants have been in our school for literally all 11 years. The chants are: think you can, work hard, get smart. What's my job? To get us to college. Like, those chants are automatic. There's also one for our behavior. I'll just share it now. We say to students, if someone's doing something they're not supposed to do, you have a job to do. What do you say? And all of our kids go, stop. We don't do that here. And so it's great when a new kid comes to my office on this first recess and says, I don't like the school. Your kids just keep saying, stop. We don't do that here. Stop. We don't do that here. But back to the first grade story. Eloise, Miss Aguiluz's class, we taught think you can, work hard, get smart. That's been our chant forever. As we launched Avid and Growth Mindset, a realization came, and a first grader went to the teacher and said, Miss Aguiluz, I'm not smart. And Miss Aguiluz is like, why? Why would you say something like that? You're very smart. She goes, because I have to get smart. Literally, from the time I heard that, the chant and everything changed. It's now think you can, work hard, get smarter. So I'd like to thank the first grader for really making sure our chants mirror the growth mindset that we know and believe in. So I think there might be some questions out there now. Go ahead and do the questions in the chat, and we're here to open. I think we're going to open up just general questions because we took a little bit longer to tell our story instead of the 3 phases. If you have a question for our group, please throw it in the chat, and we will start answering those as they come up. Kitty, I'll go ahead and share that answer for that one, and then I'll go up and give it to others. Actually, if we can go back to the picture, Amber, of the teachers doing training, with Miss Murray is the person doing the training, because actually the Foursquare board that I talked about is in the back corner of that picture. And so we're going to go back, keep going back, I think keep right there. So if you look behind in the back of the head, right next to Ms. Cloonan, is actually our Foursquare chart. So what we did on these days is when there's days where every one of our Avid leadership team partners with someone, and we teach 4 strategies. We model it in all of our PD, but when it's Avid Day, the Avid leadership trains it in 4 different, they go into 4 different rooms, they train, and then we come back together. What this is, you'll see the Foursquare on the board. Everyone goes into 4 categories. One is, I got this, I don't need any help, thanks for reminding me, I'm going to rock this in my class. If they put it in the 2 corner, it's I got this, but I would really like to talk to someone on the Avid leadership team to help me with this. 3 is, I understand it, I think I got it, but can someone on the Avid leadership team, a teacher, not me, not my dean, come in and help me with this moving forward and just give me coaching after I do it. And 4 is, I'm so afraid to do this that I really need to see someone do it with my students first. and then our Avid leadership team will give up a special to do this. So what you're seeing on the tables right now is people are separated by the strategy they want to try and their level 1 through 4, and they're getting individual coaching from their Avid leadership team. That's a great question. Anyone who participated on that, I'd love to have one of the teachers jump in and go ahead and talk about how that works in there. So someone just go ahead and jump in. Go ahead, Shana.
We had a question posted by Michelle Hall that all panelists said they were apprehensive at first. How did you create a culture that promoted buy-in when so many leaders were so nervous to start? And Shana had some ideas she wanted to share.
Hi. Okay. So I say this often when we do interviews, but I actually came from a different district where it's far more closed door is the only way I can put it. So there wasn't a very welcoming environment. It felt very competitive. I didn't feel like I could go and talk to other teachers. So that was kind of my first experience teaching. And then when I came to Guerrero, I realized that it was a very different culture. And I can go into pretty much anybody's room and say, hey, I have a question. Can you help me with this? Or do you have something for that? And everyone was just very welcoming. So the best way I can say it is it's a place where people feel comfortable. I learned very quickly I could feel comfortable. So when it came to tough things, strategies or students or anything that I was having a really, really hard time with, I know that I could go and talk to my colleagues, talk to my boss or whoever, and get really solid advice, and people want to help. There's no judgment. They're not thinking any less of you or that you're not a great teacher. So it just makes it really easy to jump in and try it. So yeah, Avid does have some things that maybe you're not necessarily comfortable with, but I'm just fortunate to work in a place where I have support. So I feel like there can be support in every school. So if you're at a school where you're kind of apprehensive, you're not sure, look for a teacher buddy who you can rely on or someone you can talk to, and they can definitely, it's always good to have someone there to help you out.
Thanks, Shana. Amy, how about you? What did this look like for you in your classroom?
Alongside with what Shana had mentioned, I think something that really helps is that we really broke it down and just focused on one small thing at a time. So like Jen had mentioned when she was talking about growth mindset, that was really where we started in our classrooms in third grade, was just growth mindset. We weren't concerned with piling on everything at a time. And then we really just built on learning one strategy that we can incorporate in our lessons, gaining confidence in that strategy ourselves and for our students, and then continuously adding on to our plate. And now I feel like that's a better teacher. I have so many strategies that I'm loving using, and I know that my students really enjoy the classroom.
Thanks, Amy. Sam, how about for you?
Alrighty, so I feel like they're a big component of our leadership team being successful with getting teachers to kind of want to work with Avid was our administrative team does a wonderful job with modeling, like Brian said. In those moments, he's asking reflective questions. He's making us really think about like how would our students act in that moment. As well as that open door policy. It makes a huge difference when you feel so comfortable going into someone else's room and seeing it. And I had another one and I can't remember it. But so I'll stick with those two for now.
Thank you. Jennifer.
So I wanted to piggyback off of a little bit of what Shana and Sammy just said about the open door policy. Not only did we have that open door policy or confidence in going to each other, but at the start of all of this, we were really lucky to have a Title I and an administrative team that allowed us to go out to other schools and made it work that we were able to go to other Avid showcases each year. And we started with our leadership team where we were able to go to panels just like this live, but just like this, where we were able to ask questions and we were able to get that confidence from other teachers who were already already several years in. And as our time with Avid went on, we rotated teachers so that not just the Avid team was going out to these other schools, but that other teachers in our schools were able to come into our own classrooms as an Avid leadership team, but also have the same opportunity to go to different showcases throughout the district where they could have other outside of Guerrero experience to ask questions with.
Thank you. And Lauren asked, how do you celebrate college culture school-wide? And Chelsea, what does that look like for your kindergartners and their peers?
So every classroom in Guerrero adopts a college. In my particular college, we are the Hawaii Pacific University Shark. And once a month, our school has an entire school-wide assembly. And in that, we celebrate our Students of the Month, and those are chosen through our PBIS system, our Positive Behavior Intervention System. And so it's a student who was really exemplifying the traits that we are trying to promote. And we also celebrate college culture. And so every class has a college chant, and the students come in, and it's like a fun pep assembly. There's band music playing, and the kids come in, and they're chanting their little chant. And so my students absolutely loved doing this. I dressed up like a shark for every assembly, and that really promoted school spirit. And my kids made HPU letters, and so we were tying in academics into it as well, and the kids were chanting and holding their signs. And so every classroom really has that college school spirit, and that's one way that we promote it at Guerrero.
Thanks, Chelsea. Patrice, what about for you?
It definitely helps the college spirit in the schools, going into each of the teachers' classrooms and seeing their college corner. And the kids get to see, the pictures of you and your family and things like that. And then that also helps with college is not just a word, it's a place. And then also our PBIS assemblies where we get to honor those students each month, as well as that culture. And then also I reach out to my classroom college is LSU, Louisiana State University, and each year at the beginning of the year I would reach out to them, and they would send a couple of pencils, a poster, a hello to my class, and so that also helps too, just reaching out to that college, and then having that college send, even if it's just a pencil, and you have 30 kids in your class, that one pencil, they're like, oh my gosh, the college sent us a pencil, and they get so excited about it. It's just really cool to see the kids even get excited about just a small pencil, just because it came from a college, and we're building that culture within that college is a place, not just a word to them.
Eloise was wondering, have you seen any connections from Avid Elementary to Avid electives in your junior high? Amy, what can you add to that discussion?
I had the opportunity to attend a showcase. I was actually at a junior high school, and I saw so many things that we're already doing at Guerrero that those students were working at. It was really cool to see that we're really on the right track for our students to help them thrive once they get to junior high and high school. We are already having our third graders, which continues through intermediate, fill out agendas every day so they know what their schedule is going to be. They are organizing their binders, which is a tool I really wish I had when I was going through school. So they're already prepared how to keep their things organized for their different classes and subjects. And we also were able to see a classroom that was engaged in a Socratic seminar, which although it wasn't to the same level and the same depth of what the junior high students are doing, we're doing that in an elementary setting and teaching our students how to engage in respectful conversations and really analyze the material that they're learning.
Thanks, Amy. And Jennifer, what can you add?
So along with Amy speaking to us taking notes, I haven't had experience going to junior high and seeing Avid, but I do know that when I've gone to trainings around the district, one thing that junior high teachers comment on that they're really impressed when we talk about how we started those binders and having those pencil pouches and the organizational aspect of Avid is what they really appreciate as our students carry on. And those note-taking strategies and those organizational components will really help them as they move on, not just to junior high, but high school and college as well.
Thank you. We had another question from Brad. And Holly, what will Avid look like at Guerrero in the future? And what are some of the goals of the Avid leadership team moving forward?
Well, over the past 3 years, the teachers have figured out what organizational techniques were working in their classrooms. They were figuring out how binders worked for them. So each teacher kind of has their own way of doing that piece and figuring out what really works best for students, which has got a lot of great data for us. So now this summer we are all going to meet and kind of figure out now what are going to be some things that all classrooms are going to have at Guerrero when it comes to organization. And also with our goal setting as well. Those are things that we're working on, making that a little more systemic on what it looks like in kindergarten, what it looks like in first, second, and all the way through till 6th grade. And I think that it's been amazing that the teachers have been able to figure out first what works best for them, and then they can add that, bring that to their teams and to our multi-grade level teams as well to figure out what they're going to look like moving forward. So thank you for asking.
Thank you, Holly. And we want to honor your time and end at 1:40. So thank you so much for all of your wonderful questions. Brian, would you like to send us off?
Yeah, I just, first of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I really like to honor time. And so we said this would be an hour, and it's now hit the 1:40 mark. Thank you for those who stayed the extra 10 minutes with us. We greatly appreciate that. We're just a year 3 Avid school, but we're really proud of where we're at. We know we have a lot of places to go, and I tell people this all the time. If you come and visit Guerrero or in this session and you say, there's an opportunity, a missed opportunity, Guerrero has a missed opportunity of a next step or something I wonder about how you could grow next, please share that because we value that kind of feedback. That feedback helps us grow and become stronger as we move forward. And so I have the opportunity with a national organization to visit schools around the country. And we talk with the principals. We celebrate what we saw, but we also talk about some missed opportunities we saw. We would love to hear your missed opportunities to help us grow moving forward. And then, Teresa, I'm going to answer your question briefly because yours was the last one I saw that came in. The parents are a little bit harder to bring it to on a consistent systemic basis. First off, we have a really strong parent group here. I can get 30 to 45 out to our monthly meetings. They know everything about Avid. We spend at least 2 meetings a year. We meet bi-monthly, and one of them is just training. They know everything we do at Avid in depth. My family support specialist and I bring it to them. And then in all of our others, we blend Avid in and introduce Avid in our Dr. Seuss night and in our science night. They're embedded in, but not presented. It's presented in written form and in our parent meetings with a large group of leadership, but it's modeled more and brought into the other activities. So I just want to make sure I answer that question. Thank you guys so much. If you need to check out, you can feel free to check out. And also our emails are on all of the slides if you're interested. We are greatly thankful for you joining with us. And so, Patty, I'm going to answer your questions. Somehow our parents carpool. Patty asked the question, how did you get so many parents involved? Aren't you mostly buses? Yeah, we are mostly buses, and it's actually a fun thing to watch. We do our parent meetings at like 9 o'clock in the morning, so it's during the school day. We have a whole kids section for the youngers to play, but a lot of our parents will come with 2 or 3 other parents in their car. They all get there for one meeting, and then they become so close that they pick each other up for the events, and we literally have a group of 25 to 30 parents who every time we open the door, they're here, but we gave them a voice. The first year here, we advocated to get a hand washing station out in our playground. That was their big push. Challenge them to advocate for something small that we can give them success in. Just 2 years ago, they met with the mayor of our city, 2 members of our superintendency to argue and advocate for flashing lights on the busy streets as people drive near our school, and they got the city to invest that money. So it's really honoring their voice, giving them advocacy, and allowing them to truly bring change to our campus when they have an opinion, and me not roadblocking it, but processing with them. Thank you. I don't see any other questions. We don't want to log out if you have any questions, but I want to give everyone the opportunity to log out if that is your choice at this time. As I do in all my WebEx forums, I'm just modeling good wait time. All right. With that, thank you for the kudos that are coming in the chat. We appreciate your questions. Thank you so much for being part of. We are humbled that you would spend an hour with us today. Muchas gracias.